couple of questions with that, because we wanted to take the temperature in the room on how you are enjoying Water Week, and then also why you're kind of here. So most of you will know that you're here for, or in the context of the World Bank's Water Week. So the first one that we wanted to ask you is how many Water Week events you've actually attended so far. And so, here we go. Okay, so we've got a few people who are here for their very first event. Now, those of you who've just come in, if I may invite you to also get out your phones, go to, in your browser, to paulf.com/IBNET-I772. And then we can say, oh my God, a quarter with their first event. I'm feeling tempted to have you raise your hand so that we know who you are. I hope it's not the last event, might be the last event today. But tomorrow there's still a couple of, so in your browser, IBNET.com paulf.com, sorry, /IBNET-I772. Okay, so this is, okay, Brian, you are in the right event, yeah? You don't need to run away. Okay. Has it disappeared? What's going on? Whoever just logged in may have disturbed the picture. What's going on here? So additional people are creating that picture?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So the good news is half of you know where to go and how to ask questions and who you are. And then we have another half who doesn't know that a lot, and about 20% who feel for the first time. So let me welcome all of you, totally informally, because Joel in a moment will welcome you much more formally. Let's take a look at the next question. How important is what we would like to know from you, in your view, is the performance of water utilities for development? And so you can answer water utilities. I thought this was about culture. You can say, well, utilities matter, but other things too. All agencies are important, or you could say, without well-performing water utilities, there is no. Okay, so I can see everybody here in the room knows water utilities, otherwise you would have maybe crossed on the first one. And we have a strong sense here in the room that utilities do matter. And so let's take, for the next question, a look at what we're going to talk about specifically here this afternoon, about IBNET. So you know that the acronym IBNET stands for? Okay, that's kind of disappointing. You all know it. So that cuts out Joel, your speech, so you don't need to talk about it. You can actually go now. Let's take a look at the next and last question then, which is, how familiar are you with IBNET? So that's a good one. So you can stay. There will be people who want to learn what IBNET has been so far, where it is going in the future, and what all of that has to do with data culture, with performance, and with learning how you're doing yourself. So we will, after Joel's introduction, hear from the team, and then we will have a panel conversation. I will introduce the panel only then, because we also have people coming in via phone, so I won't worry with that, but we will have the panel up here in front a little later. We'll share all together one phone, one microphone that I'm going to give to you, Joel, now. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to see all of you in the room. This is, sometimes data is not the most exciting point to be,
Joel, can you close up?
the most exciting thing for people to get excited about. The reality is, though, this is like a 25-year-old journey. IBNET's been around a long time. There were people, where is Sasha? There were people even before Sasha, hard to believe, before Sasha, who there's a lot of other people in the room who've been involved in this, but more recently, Berta and Marco, raise your hands, Berta and Marco have been involved in this, and there's other partners, USAID, Gates, the whole GWSP family has been behind this. I'm sure Alan remembers the creation of IBNET a long time ago, and yet still we don't have the data we need, and it still remains a problem. And I think that is the challenge going forward, how to get the data. IBNET traditionally has been a benchmarking exercise. Many of you probably know we went through a rather reflective process in the water GPU, whether this is something we should continue, who else might be able to do this, what kind of investment was going to be needed, how it was relevant to the other programs that we had. And it turned out, I think that last part about being relevant was why we made the decision to invest significant money into reforming IBNET. So for example, utility of the future, if we're improving the utilities, we better record what it means. If we're looking at governance arrangements are going to help the utilities perform better, how can IBNET do that? And then, in my favorite subject, which is, as you heard in the plenary a minute ago, revenue or creditworthiness, how are we going to measure that? So all of this is incredibly relevant for the formation of data and the future of IBNET. And as I said, we've made a major investment on this going forward. I want to thank all the partners and all the people who've been involved in this. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marco and the team and let them take you through the next hour and a half. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for those lovely words and kind introduction. You know, when I started to work at the bank almost 10 years ago, and or with a couple of pounds less, the first day when people are helping you getting the email set up and everything, and I remember the first email I ever sent to a person was about IBNET and was to my colleague Berta over there. I remember thinking, how extraordinary, is the IBNET, how engaged our utilities and voluntarily sharing their data, and strengthening that data approach relationship between TTLs and the utilities. Of course, as time went by, you understand that TTLs task teams operate in sparse data environments. So it is really painful when you have to design a project without data, when you have to implement, monitor, even close a project with data. So data is really important. And for utilities, it's the same situation. They need to understand where they stand today, and they need to understand where they want to go in the future. Unfortunately, and this is the ironic part, utilities sit on top of data. They are data rich. They may not know it, but they have limitations at the moment of collecting data, preserving data, and transforming that data into knowledge. So before I continue, I just want to also recognize, as Joe did, the extraordinary work of the IBNET team, led by Sasha, and as Joe mentioned, it's an important World Bank asset that has been operating for more than 25 years, and many lessons learned were captured in order to redesign the IBNET. So we're not here to discuss about artificial intelligence, to talk about software, machine learning, etc. We're here to discuss how can we help our utilities enhance their performance through KPIs and management practices. This is the idea today. As you can see on the screen, today the world is facing several challenges Many of them are depicted there in the pictures. We have climate change. We have issues with a slow post-COVID-19 recovery, inequality in access, global economic crisis. All of these are challenges we are facing today, but also challenges where our utilities are at the front of these challenges. And in order to resolve this issue, we need good solutions. We need good decisions. We need informed decisions. But there's a reason why utilities are, despite being data rich, are not able to transform that data into knowledge, or I would say to move from data to action. And one of the reasons is because utilities are highly invested in trying to resolve the day-to-day issues, as you saw in the pictures, and to provide better services that simply they don't have time to sit down and think through, okay, how can I improve in the medium and long term? And this is what the new IBNET is about. The vision is to transform the IBNET into a place where utilities can use data, can share the data, and most importantly, can connect and learn from each other. This is a new vision of a new IBNET. We are transforming the platform into a collaborative platform, into a partnership, into a platform that is an experience that is a pleasant experience for the user, an effortless experience, cost effective, but most importantly, a place where they can find robust and comprehensive insights. What's next for new IBNET? Well, we are launching the new IBNET on March 22nd as part of the Water UN conference. We are also closing the beta version of the IBNET. Today, the information you see in the website and the portal is a result from the collaboration for about 70 utilities that were able to share their data points on a voluntary basis, and we have transformed that data and uploaded it into the website. Of course, today you're part of this selected and privileged group of people who will have a sneak peek, but we also have a participation in the Genius Bar, and you can also go deeper into the website there. So before handing it over to Berta, I just want to say that it is important. One of the lessons learned we identify throughout this process of IBNET. So we went and consulted with everyone and anyone who has to do with data, and we understood that only when utilities are able to use the data to improve their performance is when putting the efforts of putting all of these data sets together really makes sense. Unless, otherwise it's very difficult. So with that, I hand it to Berta to explain a little bit more.
So, what does the new IBNET will offer to you? Before I go to a concrete example, I want to share with you 4 aspects that we have considered on this new IBNET. And the first aspect is regarding how utilities will submit the data. And these utilities will go to the portal, and they will use the portal to submit it themselves. So we are moving from a place where we get the data through the data sheets or the Excel sheets that we used to do, to a place where utilities can go and submit the data. The second aspect is, as Marco mentioned, we are using a user-friendly approach where we talk to utilities, we talk to regulators, we talk to development planners, and they confirm that they prefer a smaller set of indicators. And that's why we went to 15 KPIs. The third aspect is regarding management practices. We looked at what other industries are doing, Like on the manufacturer sector, for instance, they looked at what the management practices are and how these management practices help them in improving performance. And looking also at the utilities of the future, at operating, we thought that there was value to bring this management practice to utilities. And the fourth aspect is looking at what we have built up to today. We have partnerships. For instance, we have a long-standing partnership with the Pacific Water Utilities in the Pacific, of course. And then we have also partnership with utilities in the Danube region. So how can we enhance these partnerships? What else can they offer us? And that's why we are looking at these partnerships and bringing them together in this community of IBNET. So a concrete example that I want to share with you today is about Walter, and Walter is here with us today. So Walter is one of these 70 utilities that was able to provide data to the IBNET, or to the new IBNET in this case. And he provided data on KPIs and management practices. And Walter is from the utility in Manila. So you looked at the dashboards, yes, you have management practices and you have the KPIs. And looking at KPIs, he saw that, okay, my non-revenue water in percentages is fine. I'm within the range of where most utilities in the sample are. But if he looks at these management practices in terms of liters per connection per hour, then he stands out. And he doesn't like what he sees. So what he did was to reach out to the IBNET team. Why am I standing there? Can you please help me find others that have gone through this process, that I can talk to them? Do you have a community inside the IBNET that I can join? And I can learn more about non-revenue water that I can improve. So this is the vision that we're trying to bring to the IBNET. We will have communities of practice that can help us and can help utilities to join and improve these aspects. And most of you today have joined the session on GSG, on the water, or WSS GSG. And you heard from Saroj, we want to be a collaborative place. So that's why we are working with Utilities of the Future, with the Financial Innovation team, with Equal Aqua, to have IBNET as a convening platform for these initiatives, but preserving this initiative as their own. So what we mean is we don't want Utilities of the Future or the feed to be embedded in IBNET. But if they need a place, the IBNET is there. And we can provide feedback to them, and we can learn from them to the IBNET. And to conclude, I want to say thank you on behalf of the IBNET team to all of you that have contributed to the IBNET, to the new IBNET, for us to get where we are. To the technical advisory group, of which Brian is here, is going to be part of our panel. To the WSS GSG and to the senior management of the Water GP that have been encouraging us and giving us all the incentives that we need to be able to make this a platform that all of us can use.
Thank you very much for that. We also like to include in that thank you note our very good colleagues, our IT team, that are also part of the new IBNET team, sitting there behind. Thank you very much, team, that we're able to after a set of long meetings and extraordinary efforts, we have our first version of IBNET. So it is wonderful, no? Berta mentioned no, very kind words, thanking everyone. And for us, I think it's what's next, no? It is really, really important for you to know that the new IBNET has a lot to offer. A lot to offer for your utilities, a lot to offer for you as TTLs that are helping the utilities now. So let us help you improve your utilities performance through IBNET, improve your management practices. Please bring your utilities to be part of this new IBNET network, to be part of this partnership. We know that data is important. So with that, I'm closing and hand it over to Monica, who will lead the next item in the agenda. Monica.
Thank you. And as Marco has said, formal launch will be in late March. Until that formal launch, the IT team here will generate a few minor miracles still. But the beta version is working, it's out there, and one can already see some minor miracles when one actually checks, and that's the experience that Walter has had, which Beata has described. Now, we're here to talk about data, but not only, but also about what data does to our culture, how we use it, and how we can use it to change performance. We'll have a panel in a moment that I'm going to call up to help us think about this based on their experience. But as we're doing it, I also wanted to introduce someone whom you don't see. We have Lauren Green here with us, who will be graphically recording our conversations. Because we do want to really capitalize on what our esteemed panel is telling us, what we're kind of inquiring with you, some of the difficult or easy questions, and also the questions that you will have to us here. We will, during the panel discussion, invite you to also send in questions yourself through the POL-F tool that we had shared earlier. And from time to time, I think the code will go up in case you lost it, so that we can then also ask further questions to the panel. In introducing the panel, let me first mention Walter and Nasser, whom we have here virtually. I don't know whether we will see Walter's face. Walter, you can switch on the video now. Oh, there we go. There is a real person here. Walter is head of process excellence at Mainline Water. And as we also heard, he is part of a small but illustrious group of the first set of utilities that have provided their data into IBNET and then can see it. Let me also welcome Luisa Sefuleao, whom we also see. Luisa, if you can hear us, we can see you now. Luisa is the CEO of the Pacific Water and Wastewater Organization. Beata has mentioned them. They've been part of the early consultations, the discussions, and have helped us think through some of the important aspects that we're looking at. Luisa and her team, they do coordinate and bring together not just the many utilities, many of them rather small in the Pacific, but also the data that relates to them. So going from Walter and Ms. Luisa, I would now like to invite Alexandra Serra to the podium. Alexandra is president of Aguas do Tejo in Portugal, a branch of the Aguas de Portugal group, and responsible for the water supply and sanitation in the Great Lisbon and Lisbon West area. We also have Brian Banks with us. Brian, if you want to come up here. Brian is a member of our technical advisory group, a group that the new IBNET team had pulled together when starting to design and implement some of the many changes, feeling that as a task team one can't just go out and do things by oneself, but one does need other people to watch over you from different perspectives. And you can talk a little bit about in a moment about how it felt to be in that technical advisory, watch what you do, really challenging group. And we have Martin Gischler with us. Martin is a senior water advisor in the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and not only representing the Dutch government here, but someone who has been guiding much of the work on the water side that many of us here in the World Bank do, a constant challenger of our work and a reminder of making sure we stay on point. The Dutch government is a partner in GWSP, the donor World Bank partnership for technical assistance, research, analytics, and forward-looking work that we're doing. And I'm not explaining it, right, John?
As is USAID.
As is USAID, of course. Well, how could I not have mentioned that? Well, I was so impressed by Brian's constant challenging. So, Ms. Luisa and Walter, we will start, Walter, with you, a question to you, if that's okay. And then we will go to, if I may, Alexandra, because we have with the two of you, two utilities here. and then we'll go to Ms. Louisa, and then from there to Brian and Martin. Just everybody gets a quick teaser question, and depending on how challenging they're responding to us, there may be others. Again, as I said earlier, you're all invited to share some questions or statements that you may have. Now, Walter, I'm kind of curious about your statements that you have made when talking to Berta about the data culture that you have or have built in your utility space. Is using data part of your culture? Or do you want to do more with data than you're already doing? Is that a journey, something that you're on? Can you share a little bit your perspectives on the data culture that you have and or trying to build in using data?
Hi, Monica. Definitely a journey. But first of all, in behalf of Manila Water Services Incorporated, I thank you for inviting us in this panel. We are humbly honored to be virtually with you all today. Now to the question, I do use data daily. You see, I lead process excellence in Manila because objective is to take business and operations processes to break through state of effectiveness and efficiency. So it's not really the destination of the breakthrough state, but it's really the journey of taking from the current state to that ideal state or future state. In our projects, descriptive data is usually used to visualize the current state, while predictive data gets the organization to envision the ideal and future states accordingly. This can drive the necessary improvement, formulation, and delivery. Now, in general, on our organization, I can honestly say we use data daily, especially in commercial and supply operations and quality. Examples to this would include like basically reading, billing, production, and water quality reports, as well as the more technical leak detection and hydraulic network modeling data, right? I think this data use culture stems from one of our 6 corporate values, particularly commitment to excellence, which we see as a means to deliver our mission and manifest further the rest of our corporate values. Nevertheless, the feeling of seeing data collection, especially on the repetitive ones, as one to produce required reports only, does not escape us as well. But at the end of the day, where we want to be deliberate, the organization does distill insights from this data and drive decisions, actions, and and results rather.
Thank you. And I will come back to you in a moment with some perspectives on data sharing. But Alexandra, if I may, you're using data daily also, I'm assuming correctly. Is that something, again, that you had to take on a journey that you were with the utility as you look back or as you look forward?
Thank you, Monica. First of all, let me tell you that it would be a pleasure to be part of IBNET, Irish Protege Atlantic, to participate in the project also. We are talking about data, but I think that we should also focus about information. You cannot imagine how many data we produce daily in a water utility. Thousands and thousands of numbers, of figures. And the challenge is to select and use and take most of it, that data that we produced, and transform it into information. Of course, data, information, KPIs are very important for us to measure the improvements in performance. But also, and I think these are two sides of the same coin, information produced using reliable and good data is very, very important for decision making at all levels, strategic, tactical, and operational. So, first challenge that we have nowadays in my organization is to try to transform the data into information that is available in real time to the teams to make the best decisions quickly, because time is also a constraint. And in many situations, we have to take good decisions in the right time. And to take that good decisions, we need data, and also, as seen by the subject of the meeting, it's really very important to have a good data culture in the organization. To tell you a little bit about my experience, Águas de Tejo Atlantic is the largest wastewater utility in Portugal. We have about 400 employees, staff, and one of my challenges is to break the silos inside the organization. Also, due to use and take the best out of the data that each department produces, okay? Because it's really, really very important that teams from financial department, from operations department can work together, collaborate in order to produce good information for the decision making. Now, it's funny because in my organization we are setting up a process of internal benchmarking, okay? Because we operate about 100 wastewater treatment plants in our concession area, and one of our goals is try to have a good competition between the operational teams. And that's why we are trying to implement this internal benchmarking in order to have information for the management team, but also to enhance healthy competition between the operational teams.
Thank you very much. So here we got an additional and I think different perspective on the role of data and how one is using it for decision making, but also to, if you will, incentivize behaviors and change perhaps how people work together. Ms. Lisa, if I may come to you with a question, I don't think you can actually see me. Let me just walk over here. Ms. Lisa, you have been working with us in the design of IBNET, and you have offered to help us and help IBNET to bring together the key performance indicators of your members, but also information about the management practices. I'd be curious, maybe you can share with us, how do you think IBNET can help your members? Not just how you can help IBNET, but also how IBNET can help your members. What would be your perspective?
Thank you for the question. And also, I first of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to participate in this very valuable event. And if I may just start by saying a little bit about BWWA. It's a regional association of organizations operating in the water and wastewater sectors of the Pacific. There are currently 30 water and wastewater utilities that are our members, and we also have private sector industry members from around the world, and we have development partners as part of BWWA. Its mission is to strengthen advocacy, collaboration, and capacity building for sustainable and resilient water and sanitation. And just also a bit of background, BWWA adopted the tools and instruments of the IBNET in 2011 and have since been collecting performance data from its utility members, enters them onto a spreadsheet and submitted to the IBNET program for quality control on the submitted data, and enters them into the IBNET database. We have been fortunate over the years to have had the assistance of a committed World Bank staff member who assisted us with this work, with this ladder work, and in producing the biannual reports of the benchmarking survey each year. And we also had, through an MOU with IBNET, developed a special website for BWWA utilities linked to the larger IBNET but available for specific access of BWWA members. And a separate tariff database was also made available, which presented information on domestic tariffs, payments, and structure of charges for water for domestic users. And fortunately, towards the end of last year, we have had discussions with the new IBNET team of what is available under the new IBNET, and that will further enhance the information and indicators available to us that we had before. And we hope that we will be signing an MOU for collaboration with the IBNET team soon. Now, to get back to the question, how do I think IBNET can be helpful to our members? Well, performance monitoring and benchmarking indicators enables our utilities assess their performance, helps compare themselves with how compares their performance over a period of time, and helps compare themselves with similar utilities within the region, Pacific region, and others around the world. That has been important in this benchmarking survey we have done over the past 12 years. There is no question of the value of data for imparting learning on each utility structure and the drivers of performance. And the IBNET BWWA benchmarking program provides very useful data and indicators on service level and performance of water utilities and general information about utilities operations. Now, the question of whether the data collected and made available each year is utilized fully or understood is another question, and one which we at BWWA would like to delve deeper into with our member utilities. Now, would IBNET be able to extend that type of service beyond the collection and calculation of indicators? That, I would think, would lend greater benefit to users' understanding and skills in data literacy, and the tremendous potential of informing decision-making and investment decisions, which is what we want that information to contribute to, for utilities. And so it is taking that step further of not just coordinating the collection of data, but providing analytical training in basic knowledge of being able to read and interpret data, and perhaps assist the utilities, especially the medium and smaller utilities that we have that do not have the capacity or capability to be data literate. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. And I think I'm really grateful, Ms. Ruiz, that you're bringing up this point, because just asking for data and looking at numbers is not really creating any insight or an opportunity to change, which is why the visualization work that we're doing is so important to help even people without formal training on data and on interpreting long lines of pieces of individual numbers, to help them understand what they mean in the context of their own performance, in the context of others. But I think the point that you're also making about training and about having the general capacity to build a culture of learning from data and insights is really important. With that question, I think I want to go to Brian. Brian, as we heard earlier, you are not only a member or work with USAID, a member of our GWSP partnership, but you're also a data and data analytics, should I say, person, lover, enthusiast, freak, and anywhere I think on that spectrum you probably are. Maybe you could just tell us what rode you in agreeing to be a member of our technical advisory group, a meeting every quarter, delving deep into all these design questions. What made you join?
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon. This is an incredible honor. This is pretty wild. When I was first getting into this sector, I remember waiting with bated breath for the next Blue Book to drop, way back when Sasha was publishing a physical book on IBNET, and just being blown away by the potential of having all the information we needed to make better decisions in one place. So as my career has brought me to this opportunity to work with USAID, we are so grateful as USAID to have the opportunity to be on the technical advisory group and learn from all the distinguished experts that are a part of this group. It was an easy ask when it came through. IBNET has really been a maverick in the water data space, kind of a pioneer joining maybe the joint monitoring program that we also support as one of the first real water data or WASH data efforts out of the gate, to really kind of push the limits of what it would mean to bring data together to improve decision making. We're so excited to be a part of the next chapter of this journey, building on the foundation that we've seen, that Sasha helped build, that others in this room helped build. And I think if they say flattery is like the best form of, or like replication is the best form of flattery, I think going and making a massive investment, throwing some of the most capable people the bank has at building on this foundation is an even nicer compliment. And I just think it's incredible what that foundation provided and where the bank aspires to take it. Supporting the use of data, and especially thinking about data standards and data sharing, has been a part of our work at USAID since even before the first global water strategy. And in the most recent global water strategy, we've elevated this idea